Hello everyone and welcome to this Fusion 360 tutorial. My name is Robin and today I will show you how you can model a Lego brick in Fusion 360. This is the beginner version of the tutorial where I take the time to explain each step in detail. If you're already familiar with Fusion 360, you can click on the link in the description or on this annotation to get to the faster version. As you can see, I've already loaded up the measurements for a standard Lego brick over here, as well as some reference images that I will use to model it as accurately as possible. First thing we do is create a new design, save it and give it a name. Next, we will create a sketch, rectangle, and create a rectangle on the ground plane. By clicking on the ground plane, this is now our sketch plane, and we place the first corner of the rectangle in the center point. Reading from the measurements, we can see that it is 15.8 by 31.8 millimeters. Now, to create a body from the sketch, we will go into Create and select Extrude. Select the profile and extrude it 9.6 millimeters upwards. Next thing we do is sketch circles on the top plane of the brick we created. So right here we'll create a circle. We will create a circle on top of it with a diameter of 4.8 millimeters. So in order to get it in the right position, we can see in the measurements here it's 3.9 millimeters from the edge of the brick to the middle of the circle. So we hit D for dimension, select the center point of the circle as well as the outer edge of our brick and type 3.9 millimeters, and we'll do the same for the upper edge of the brick, 3.9 millimeters. Next thing we'll do is pattern the circle we just created by going into Sketch, Rectangular Pattern, selecting the circle and then selecting our two directions. In this case it's this direction and this direction. From the measurements we can see that each circle has a distance of 8 millimeters from the next one. So we will create pattern in this direction, and instead of 3 circles we only need 2 in this direction, and the distance is 8 millimeters. In this direction we will create 4 circles as well as a distance of 8 millimeters, but we have to select spacing in this case instead of extent, and here we select 8 millimeters. Looking good so far. Next thing we'll do is create an extrusion. So again, get into Create, select Extrude, and then select the profiles that we just created. And we can see in the measurements they have a height of 1.8 millimeters, and that's exactly what we will put in. So alright, flip it over, and now we will modify this part by hollowing it out, and we do this by selecting Modify, Shell, and then click the bottom face of our brick. Our inside thickness will be 1.2 millimeters. And our direction is inside. So now we have a hollow brick. Next thing we will create are the bosses that you can see in this reference picture, and we do this by creating another sketch. Select sketch, circle, center diameter circle, and we select the face of the underside of our brick, and now we will create our circle. This one is 4.8 millimeters in diameter, and we will create another circle at the same location with a diameter of 6.5 millimeters. So in order to correctly position this circle, I will create some construction lines. We select sketch, line, and I will just go from edge to edge in order to create a cross. Select both of them, right click, normal / construction, and drag the circle right in the middle. Next thing we'll do to create 3 of these bosses, we will pattern them again, and we select sketch, rectangular pattern, select the 2 circles we want to pattern, and as you can see, the pattern only goes in one direction at the moment, but we can easily change that by selecting symmetric, and now they will pattern in both directions. The distance is 8 millimeters again, and press OK. The next thing we will sketch are these so-called ribs that you can see in the reference image right here, and for these we will select sketch and sketch a line, then we will go right in the middle, right click, select, make it a construction line. We will use the line command again and go right here. Next thing we'll do is we will mirror this line onto the other side by selecting sketch, mirror, selecting the line and the line we want to mirror over, and clicking OK. So let's make this a lot thinner, like so. Now, in order to get rid of parts of the line that we don't need, we will go into sketch and select trim. You can also press T on your keyboard, and we will trim away all the parts of the line that we don't need. Here, here, and here. Perfect. Next, we will create these little ribs that are protruding from the walls, and in our measurements we can see they are protruding for 0.3 millimeters and have a width of 0.6 millimeters. We will select line and just create a 3-sided rectangle here. D for dimension. This side will be 0.6 millimeters and these will be 0.3 millimeters. Alright. In order to align this part properly with the rest of the body, we will select a line and draw this line from the middle of the sketch profile we just created to the middle of this circle. And now we will select horizontal / vertical to align it properly. To create the same profile on this edge, we will do the same process again. Select line, create the rectangle, D for dimension, 0.3, and this one will be 0.6 millimeters. And again, selecting another line, placing it in the middle of the profile we just created, from the blue triangle to the center of the circle. And next thing we'll do to align it, we will create a constraint, a horizontal constraint for this line, like this. Next thing we will do is pattern the profile we just created by selecting Sketch, Rectangular Pattern, selecting the 3 lines defining the rectangle, and now pulling it down, and we know that the distance is 8 and we will have 4 of them. And as you can see, we have 4 of these profiles and they're all lined up to the circle in front of them. Press OK. Next thing we'll do is get this profile over onto the other side. Select it, select Sketch, Mirror, select the mirror line in the middle, and now you can see it has been projected over here. Press OK. And now we have created all the necessary protrusions for this side. Next thing we'll do is mirror them from this side to the other by creating another construction line right in the middle. Right click, make it a construction line. Next we will create another mirror. Select the objects that we need by dragging a box from left to right. And selecting the center line we just created as the mirror line. Perfect. Now that we created all the necessary sketch profiles, we can stop the sketch. Next we will create extrusions with the extrude command by selecting all the profiles we just created in the sketch. Now, instead of simply dragging the arrow to our desired height, we will instead use toObject as the extent, select the lower brim of our brick, and as you can see, we get a little error message. This is because we have to extend the faces that we want to extend to. And as you can see, all the geometry was created. Click OK. And the last thing we have to do to finish the underside of this brick is to create the ribs from the outer side to the cylinder in the middle. We do this by first making the sketch we just used visible again and creating another extrusion, selecting the 2 profiles and going upwards until here. OK. And we'll hide this sketch again. And there we have it. The underside of our brick is finished. Now, last thing we have to do is actually create the little text on each of the pegs of the brick. And we will do this by selecting Sketch, Text, Lego, to rotate it by 180 degrees. Make it a lot smaller. It's 2 millimeters, still too big, 1.5 millimeters, perhaps. That looks good. And instead of Arial, we will use DIN condensed. And here we can have bigger, 2.0, 2.4, just like this. Perfect. In order to further use the text we just entered, we right-click, select Explode Text, and we now have the outlines of the text that we can use to manipulate the geometry. We will create another extrusion. Select extrude, select the letters, and we will extrude by 1 millimeter. Sorry, 0.1. And the last thing we'll do is pattern this extrusion we just did. We'll go into Create, Pattern, Rectangular Pattern, and we will select Pattern Features. Click on the extrusion in the timeline. Select the directions as to the right and downwards, and dragging them down. In this case we have 4, and we have 2 in this direction with a spacing of 8 millimeters. Click OK, and now you can see we have the text on every peg. Okay, never forget to save, and our Lego brick is done. To make it a little bit nicer, I'll just quickly get into the render environment and give it a different material. And that's it. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and you can find a link to this file in the description below.